To go over how I made my cab lift here using a engine hoist. I've seen a few different variations of this. I thought I could make it a little bit simpler than the other ones I've seen. Same thing, I built a cab dolly, and I'll show you how I did that. A little simpler design that I've seen as well. So uh, for the cross brace here, it's just 3 2x4s, 2 uprights, and then this cross piece here just fastened together with a few screws. Most of the ones that I've seen, guys come down here with another perpendicular piece that mounts this whole brace up above the engine hoist. I don't care for that design because this will be more balanced, having the fulcrum, you know, almost center of the whole piece itself. The farther you move that down there, the faster things can tip and kind of get away from you, which I don't know, as long as you're careful, it's probably not, doesn't, in the center doesn't matter that much. But I also added a strap here to kind of, that way if something tried to tip that way too far, this would catch it, so I can kind of adjust the tension and the balance with that. This worked on my engine lift because the bolt hole that goes through the square tubing here is towards one side. So normally this piece is on the bottom. I just flipped it upside down. Let me focus this a little bit so maybe you can see a little bit better in there. But the chain usually goes through that little slot right there, the hook part, which is this, as you see on all engine hoists. So anyway, so I flipped the tube upside down, bolt holes on the upper edge now, which allows me to put this bolt hole through here, and then still gives this some movement. I did have to notch back here because it was interfering. This piece here would interfere with that, so I just kind of notched that out. I didn't do it on the other end because I didn't need to. Then I have these blocks on here that went up and held up against the bottom of the cab here. A lot of guys will lift these with the door still on it, but mine doesn't have latches in the pins, so it would tweak the door if I lifted up the whole cab using the door without the latches installed. So I actually took this door off. I was able to leave the passenger door on. There was room to just open the door and just leave it open while I had the brace in there. I was going to mock this back up since I've already done this, but I'll just add some pictures at the end that show you what it looks like when this thing, and these are, I just set them on there, so they were just sitting on there as spacers up underneath the cab. Again, I'll add some pictures in at the end of this video to show you how I did that. Again, pretty simple design. It's just 3 2x4s with the hole drilled in it. It was real quick and easy, worked just fine. I wasn't quite able to get this completely down off the stand. I had to put a couple of 2x4s underneath those dolly wheels, or casters rather, and then I just rolled off rolled off those 2x4s onto the floor. It was real close. Something I wanted to add here, just to point out, I did put some spacers between the sides just to keep it from getting too out of whack and keep that piece centered on top of the hoist. I just used a couple nuts that slid over that piece of ready rod, but as you can see, this thing's got quite a decent range of motion. And I also notched out under here just because they were interfering with this bolt that holds that piece on there. So just kind of give you an idea. And again, I didn't use anywhere near that range of motion. It was just this, you know, pretty much just a little bit with that tie down hooked on there. So here's the cab dolly. Again, real simple. These are that's just a 4x4 there going all the way across, and then a couple 4x4 spacers on top of that. So that's 7 inches there, which I measured it, and 7 inches is just is about the difference between the front mount and the bottom of the back of the cab. So I just ran a couple boards, 2x6s, all the way through underneath. I put that wire on there because when it's up in the air, there's nothing holding that board up against the back of the cab. So I just fastened that wire on there to one of the cab mount bolts, just to, that way the weight of that doesn't bend the mount or something off over here on this other side, because when this is up in the air, just the screw that I put in the floor here, as you can see, just a simple screw with a washer on it, that just screws down into that 4x4 underneath. That's all that, because it's just sitting on there, it doesn't need to be anchored on there real hard. And then I just screwed a piece of scrap wood on here in between, just to keep those boards from wanting to pull or push away from each other as I rolled it around the floor. I don't recommend these kind of casters for using 2x4s, just because the bolt on them isn't long enough. See, I had to put go down inside there to get that nut or have enough length to get the nut on there. There's a kind that have like a little plate that you can attach with 4 screws or 4 bolts. I would recommend probably those kind of casters, but these were on sale, so that's what I used. Again, they work just fine. It rolls around real smooth and easy. But just to give you another better look, here, I'll kind of scan around under here in case you want to do this yourself. So again, it's literally just some 4x4s and a 2x6. 2x4 would be fine. That's just, I just made this out of scrap wood, so whatever you have on hand is fine. Again, real basic. A lot of guys make a full box and then the cab sits on that. This is about as basic as you can get.